Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. We talked about it early Monday morning. There seems to be some serious momentum for Florida State on the recruiting trail. But we got another commitment to talk about Tuesday afternoon. Three-star linebacker Noah LaVallee committing to Florida State. Now, yeah, if I'm a Florida State fan, I'm a little bit less concerned about the three-star rating, and I'm more concerned with, hey, Florida State clearly liked this kid a lot and pushed really hard for his commitment over the last couple of weeks. If I were to sell the Florida State fans on this kid in 30 seconds, 125 plus tackles, playing 7A football in the state of Georgia. And this is a guy that he might not be the flashiest off-ball linebacker that you see in the 2026 cycle, but as showed you on the football field on Friday nights, this kid has the ability to find the ball carrier, bring the ball carrier to the ground. That's what you're looking for at the off-ball linebacker position. I feel like sometimes we get so wrapped up in 100-meter times, size, speed profiles that we forget to just watch the football player on Friday nights. This kid's got some really good instincts, and I'll say this, some surprising range at the backer position. I mean, this is a guy that's listed at 6'2", 220. I think the biggest concern when you see that profile is, hey, does he have the athleticism to go sideline to sideline and play in space? He's a pretty easy mover for a rather bigger off-ball linebacker prospect at the high school ranks. That is something that Florida State linebackers have been miserable at. And you look at the last couple of years, especially in 2024, you get these linebackers in space. They were normally not making a lot of plays. In this modern era of college football, you need your linebackers to operate in space. We are not in 2010 anymore. We got to have guys that can go sideline to sideline, drop back in coverage, cover tight ends up the seam. I look at Noah LaVallee and say, although he's a bigger linebacker prospect, he flies around the football field, makes a lot of plays, and that's what you're looking for at the off-ball linebacker position. This is going to be a very important cycle recruiting linebackers. Probably a position that Florida State has not recruited well enough, and it's also a position in the Tony White defense that you want a lot of linebackers, especially those linebackers that can play in space. Want to get a little bit into his film, talk about where Florida State's going on the recruiting trail before we get into it. As always, the Florida State fans, appreciate you guys, and buckle in. I think there's going to be some fireworks for Florida State in the late months of June and going into July. There are some commitments that, could be very exciting for Florida State kind of coming down the pipe. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. Let's talk about some strengths, weaknesses, get into the film a little bit. Strengths. I think it's his ability for the range at that linebacker position. You see him plenty of times on the film go sideline to sideline, go make a lot of plays. I think the second thing is this is a guy that sees the sport relatively well. I think the game is relatively slow for him. And especially at the linebacker position, when we get so infatuated with what these kids look like or the track times that they run, we forget to say, hey, do they know what they're doing? Do they have some instincts about their game? I think Noah LaVallee has that. Weaknesses. For someone 6'2", 220, I want to see him be a little bit more physically imposing, not necessarily making tackles, but taking on blocks. He often chooses to kind of work around blocks at times instead of just taking on some blocks, stacking them, shedding them. Look, you're 6'2", 220. You look like a big, strong, physical linebacker. Want you to play a little bit more like a big, strong, physical linebacker, especially when you're taking on some blocks. And then I think secondly, you want to just see him have a little bit bigger of an impact specifically behind the line of scrimmage, playing a little bit more downhill, creating some more negative plays. I think to me at least, the best way to frame this is, I think this kid was a layup on the recruiting trail, like a guy that you think can be a very, very solid linebacker for you over the next couple of years. I think the projection is pretty simple here. Go out and make it happen. We talk about Florida State landing high profile commitments, and we want to see that. That's how you win national championships. You also got to go out and hit your layups. And I think Noah LaVallee was a guy that it's a layup for Florida State on the trail. Go get it done, and they did. Turning on some of the film, there are some exciting parts about his game. And I think it starts with the amount of range that he has and the ability. We're going to pull it up real quick. Sorry, I have to rewind it. I think the thing that excites me the most is his ability to kind of fly around the football field and consistently find the ball carrier. Continue to work with it. And you see a little bit of this. I want to see more of this, quite frankly. Him coming off the edge, getting involved in the pass rush. You don't see it a ton from the junior year, but you continue to work through it and say, all right, there. His ability to play in space like that to me is where it starts, and then close the distance between yourself and the ball carrier. I want to see more of this on his film. I see a lot of stuff I like going lateral. I want to see a little bit more attack mode from him because I know he can do it because I'm seeing it right here. You just want to see it a little bit more consistently. Continuing to work through it, you're gonna see a lot of stuff that sideline to sideline. This is very, very important. This is the name of the game. Like where we are in modern Power Four college football, we want opposing offenses, I should say, want to get their speed in space. Hey, who are our best football players? How can we get them the football in space? And if you don't have linebackers that can run, chase, and tackle, you're going to be in trouble. And you continue to see him go sideline to sideline and make these plays and seem like a linebacker that's really comfortable operating in space. And once again, one, very good instincts and eye discipline. Number two, let's go make a tackle in the open field on a wide receiver. Yeah, we can do it. Again, that stuff's really, really intriguing for a guy like Noah. Continue to work through it. And I think this is kind of a rock solid kid that plays with the high motor, which is another thing I should have noted right off the bat. I think he's a very solid take for Florida State. I think Florida State likes him a lot too. A guy that you can certainly see, again, speed and space, man. I like it. I like his ability to make tackles in space. This is a guy that you can see being a starting linebacker for Florida State over the next couple of years. Now, where does Florida State go from here? I think the monster group of visitors on campus right now. I think the name to watch is Jaden O'Neal, especially with Bo Bentley kind of closing in on his decision. We've talked about Jaden O'Neal, a guy that, quite frankly, growing on me a little bit. I know he has taken a hit in terms of his ranking across the board on recruiting services. Guy that I think has gotten his body right, has become a little bit better of an athlete. A guy that I can see as, I don't know if it's an ideal fit in the Gus Malzahn offense, but it's a guy that I can see the fit a little bit more clear than I did 12 months ago. We'll see how Florida State decides to manage the quarterback room. I think they have a guy that they like in Kevin Sperry. High profile guys that Florida State's going after, and it sounds like they have a chance at a few of them. Got to see Mike Norvell get it done with some of them. We'll close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. Tackle machine, 7A football down in Georgia. That's what I'm telling myself if I'm a Florida State fan. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.